Our next speaker is Peter Hall. Now, Peter's joined CY O'Connor Institute in October 2010 as a lecturer for local government portfolio. His students are local government employees and some private people, the main group of students being the WA Rangers attached to the local government system. Peter also delivers Certificate 4 in Local Government Regulatory Services to these Rangers and local government compliance officers, and Certificate 3 in Local Government to trainees and operational depot works crew, as well as the Diploma of Local Government and Operational Works. Peter's worked as a ranger over a 10-year period at the Shire of Chittering, City of Bayswater and the City of Joondalup. He then decided lecturing was more of his interest and training rangers was what he wanted to do. He now travels around WA meeting and training rangers while making a contribution to the high standard of rangers that are being produced by CY O'Connor Institute. In 1998, he joined the local volunteer bushfire brigade in the Shire of Chittering and soon became a trainer of volunteers and still performs that role today. Peter has worked his way through the ranks to become captain and fire control officer for the Mashaya Brigade. He has attended many large fires over 17 years and sits on an advisory committee that reports to the CEO at the Shire of Chittering on all strategic fire management issues. And I welcome Peter up to the stage at this point.
Good morning. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. My little chat today is about community resilience, and it's a hard one to get a handle on, I think, overall, because it's going to vary in a lot of ways depending where you are, what resources you have, how well your community gets on with each other, and are people willing to commit and make a contribution to the community and be involved. As stated, my portfolios are training rangers, or certainly putting them through their Cert 4, and I certainly have a background in rangering that complements that, and so that was very handy that I was accepted at CY O'Connor, which is a TAFE institute. I also get a chance to go out and have a talk to the operational works crews and put them through various certificates and training that's required, especially for supervisors and managers wanting to upgrade their skills. There's a lot of people that have been in the industry for quite a while and they don't have a certificate to show for it. So hence that's where we come into play. Previously, in another life, I was the Senior Risk Management Officer at Western Power, and 3,500 odd staff members across WA, and my particular roles were looking after all those portfolios, or certainly being in charge of them and making sure that they went well. But I think the public liability one too, and we talk about community resilience, and when you've got an overhead power system running across your state that's predominant, there's going to be a lot of influences that will disrupt the power supplies. And certainly here in Queensland, I guess with your flooding, massive storms, tornadoes, fires, dust storms, it just goes on. The overhead power system can be disrupted quite easily, could put a lot of people out of power, and then what do you do next when you're trying to perform a recovery duty or a response activity as well? So a lot of things that I was involved in there, workers' compensation, contractual arrangements. So just giving a little bit of background where I come from, that's where I've been at those particular places. City of Bayswater, probably about 80,000 people. Shire of Chittering, 4,000 people. City of Joondalup, 200,000 people. So just in a larger team there for me. So they were great experiences for me, and set me on my path to joining Charlene at CY O'Connor. Okay. So 1998, and this is where I'm coming to now, is getting involved in your local community, and hopefully every one of you can make a contribution to your community, or has already, or are already doing it. I decided to join the local volunteer bushfire brigade. I bought a property in 98, and I thought, wow, the best way to meet people, let's join the local fire brigade and find out who my neighbours are and what have you. And that was fantastic, because by the time I got the house built, moved in 2000, In my small estate in Wandina, I knew there was 28 property owners. I knew them all. We got together on Australia Day and had a barbecue at one of our residents' places, and we knew whose car was whose. We knew who wasn't. If I'm looking at it, say a rural watch scenario, we knew who wasn't a regular in our community. So we kept an eye out for each other. We knew what the various aspects of each of our jobs were and what resources that we had on our property, and I'll come back more to that in a little while. But the fire brigade was a good learning curve. I ended up actually training the recruits at a certain stage there. So some of the big fires, and I'll talk right at the very end, I'll talk about a particular friend of mine at college who lost his home in the Darlington Fires that we had a year and a half ago now, and he's still trying to get things to happen, to get a rebuild and what have you, and his resilience is at an all-time low. So I think an important job. I've got 3 appliances to make sure that they're working appropriately, and 40 volunteers to look after and make sure they're trained, and I decide who goes on a truck, depending on their experience and what sort of fire we're going to do, or attend, sorry. I'm a fire control officer, and I'm covered by legislation. So as a fire control officer, if I'm first on site, I can take control of a fire, and I can commandeer equipment, people, resources, whatever's needed to fight the fire at that time. So again, a big responsibility, but it's nice to have some legislation to back you up. As part of being a fire control officer, again within the local community, and I'm going to swing this around so you'll see where the resilience comes in, and being prepared for that is all the fire control officers from our 5 brigades. The senior fire control officer is on a bushfire advisory committee to council, and we then can administer or promote ideas for future safety, strategic planning, and possibly when we have a new estate, we can set up the strategic breaks that we need for access and or saving properties, hopefully, and just future planning on any particular incident. It doesn't have to be a fire. The Pierce Air Base is right next door to us in another council, so there's a prospect of having a plane down possibly in our area. Road trains sweep in on a particular bend coming into Mouchet, and we've had plenty of those fall over and the stock running all over the place. So that's another aspect. We've also had another truck roll over or evade a particular vehicle that went through a stop sign. We had to shut the highway for a day and a half, a massive highway, Great Northern Highway leading out of Perth, because we had a toxic issue to deal with in our community. So we were there helping at all those particular scenarios, and especially cars being stolen, dumped in the bush, set fire, a car rollover, a traffic accident which creates a fire. We're there to assist the FRS in whatever way we can, especially for a fire getting off the highway into the bush. That's our role. Community resilience. I wanted to just look at community first because there's a lot of people that make up a community and a lot of resources that are in a community, and there's a lot of groups that are in a community. So these were some that I thought of. And what I'm going to do in a little while, I'd like you to have a bit of time. I'm going to give you 10 minutes just to, at each table, just to put a few ideas down of what do you have in your community, what's special in your community possibly as well, that you might need to have additional resources for. And I was just talking to a gentleman. Where are you from again? And where's that? East Arnhem Land. So you can imagine they would have a different outlook on a whole stack of emergency services than we would, say, for New Zealand. Or Geraldton. We've got some people here from Geraldton too, some colleagues of mine. So it'll just depend where you are as to what resources you might need. And I think if you've got good resources, good people, You'll establish a resilience knowing that you have those resources in place, and people can feel comfortable knowing that they can rely on someone to turn up and help them when in time of need. Visitors can pose an issue too when they're popping in, camping and what have you, so they may need to be attended to in a different way. So there's a lot of agencies and people that make it up. What does safe actually mean? Having good infrastructure to meet current and future needs, having a good and reliable communication system. I think we were talking to someone this morning about the power going off in your community. Possibly shuts down your two-way systems. How do your rangers talk to each other? How do your emergency services talk to each other? So mobile phones could be down. It creates an issue. So there's a lot of things to have some backup plans in place, which will add to your resilience. Open and accountable local government. Yeah, okay, that might be just a little bit of a wish list there. I know that they are accountable, but that's a personal issue, yes. What else I'll mention that because just recently our councillors were stood down and some administrators were put in their place. So having open and accountable local government is very important, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Thank you. I've rushed through that a bit, but you guys spoke beautifully as well, so thank you for your time.